Have you wanted to try using ChatGPT for your progress notes? Well, I've tried it and I'm here to share the results with you. Hi, I'm Dr. Maelisa McCaffrey, founder of the free private practice paperwork crash course, and today I'm here to share my full review of using ChatGPT for your progress notes and other mental health documentation. We're going to use 6 criteria for reviewing ChatGPT and all the other AI platforms that we'll be reviewing as part of this series. So we'll review how the platform actually works, how much does it cost, the pricing, potential integration with your EHR or record system, my favorite features of the platform, any cautions or concerns related to the platform, and then finally, how well did it actually write a progress note? So how does it work? Well, ChatGPT is an open source AI platform that's available for free or in a paid version to the general public. Anyone can sign up if you have access to a computer. It literally opens up a different chat every time you log in. You input info and it generates an answer or whatever it is that you asked for in that prompt. The more information you enter as part of your prompt or request, the better a response you will get from ChatGPT. Once you get that output, you can then copy and paste it into whatever document it is that you wanted to use it for. You can have multiple chats open with ChatGPT, and it will remember different things based on each chat. For example, you could have one chat open with GPT that asks it about gathering couples resources in your area, and then you could have a separate chat open that asks about resources for individuals with substance use disorders in your area. And the more you interact with it in each of those chats, the better it will tailor its answers and learn about what it is that you want as you ask more questions. So it does help to have a different chat open every time you move on to a different topic. Okay, so what is the pricing? Is it really free? Yes, ChatGPT is free to use if you want to use the 3.5 version of it. It's $20 a month if you want to use the more updated version, which means that literally the AI has been given updated information and is more recent. So I think as of right now, the information for the free version is until April of 2023. So anything that's happened after that time, again, as of right now, has not been updated. And so any information, if you were looking for specific resources in the last 6 months or so, it's not going to know that information because it has never been taught that information. But for most of the purposes we're going to be discussing today, it doesn't really matter if your platform hasn't been updated in the last few months or so. You get some other bells and whistles with the paid version other than just a more recent update. But frankly, I didn't understand most of what those extra benefits were, and I doubt that you really need them for what we'll be discussing. Because guess what? That $20 a month does not get you a BAA, a Business Associate Agreement, which is exactly what you need for ChatGPT to be HIPAA compliant. No, ChatGPT is not HIPAA secure, not HIPAA compliant, and we will talk about ways you can still use it, but you can probably already tell I'm going to say don't use it for your progress notes. On that note, our criteria, how does this integrate with your EHR? Let's talk about it. Essentially, no, you can't use ChatGPT ethically for your individual progress notes because it is not HIPAA compliant, it won't give you a BAA, and that means in the US at least, if you are a licensed therapist, you cannot use it. You cannot input personalized health information, PHI, into ChatGPT because they are not guaranteeing that they're keeping it secure. Let me reiterate, it is not ethical for you to use ChatGPT to write individual clients' progress notes or treatment plans, or really any other specific document that is individualized to a specific client. That said, there are still lots of ways you can use ChatGPT, and I would highly recommend it. It's actually really fun. Just don't use it for your progress notes, okay? So let's dig into some of my favorite features about ChatGPT. My first favorite feature is that it is incredibly fast. I have tested all of these AI progress note generators and different platforms, and nothing even comes close to comparing to ChatGPT. It's amazing. Use ChatGPT for your marketing efforts, things like writing blog posts, or really almost anything where you need written content created. The key here is that you only want to use it as a framework. So just consider the fact that thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people are using this product. And if all these therapists come online and ask it for a blog post on anxiety, 7 tips for dealing with anxiety, yes, you might get the exact same response that someone else has gotten or that hundreds of people have gotten. Google doesn't like that. Don't post that blog post. So always, for anything, use AI in general, but use ChatGPT as a framework. And that means that you can either input content you've already written and have it edit it, or you can say, give me 7 tips on dealing with anxiety. And you can use that as your initial framework, and then you can add your own voice and add your own little tips or adjust some things, tweak things, add a paragraph here and there. You always, always, always want to check the content, but then you also want to personalize it. That will make it more beneficial to you, and it won't look like you're copying things in case other people have the exact same idea. Now, back to documentation. You can actually use ChatGPT to help with your documentation a little bit. The easiest way to do this is have it create some templates for you. For example, I work with a lot of therapists who find it really helpful to have multiple progress note templates based on the type of service they're providing. So if you see couples and you use EMDR with individuals and you also see teens, and then let's say you have other individuals you see where it's more generic, you might want to have 4 different progress note templates. Well, you can ask ChatGPT, produce an EMDR progress note template for me. So you're not having it write a note for a session, you're having it give you the template. What you can then do is cross-reference it with whatever template you already have or whatever resources you already have, and use it to create a really well-refined template that you'll then be able to use with lots and lots of different clients. This is a way to use ChatGPT to eventually save yourself time on documentation, make it easier, keep the high quality, but you are not compromising any client's information. You can also use ChatGPT to help you with things like the intake process or even the discharge process. So any letters that you might have to send out to clients or summaries that you commonly create, again, ask it to create a template for that for you. Things like emails that you send to clients, especially at intake or at different times in the process, things that you frequently send to people, ask ChatGPT to create a template for you. Sometimes it creates a really beautifully written template that is something I never would have thought of. So it's worth typing in that request to it, or at least giving it the template you already use and seeing if it has some tweaks to make. And let's say you do things like assessments or evaluations, you could input all of the various things that you frequently assess or all the different topic areas and ask it to literally create a template for you or create a framework or create some starter sentences that you can use. So again, we're being HIPAA secure because we're not entering any particular client's information. We are just using ChatGPT to work smarter ahead of time rather than harder, so that when we do use our electronic health record or another actually HIPAA secure system to record our clients' data, we already have something set in place to make it very easy to do. Okay, 2 more ideas for some ways you can use ChatGPT, because I think honestly this is endless. Throw some ideas in the comments if you have already done this or you have an idea for something that you want to add. But you can create resources or handouts for your clients, different ways to do deep breathing or different meditation exercises, or whether that is emergency response numbers in your area. Again, double check all of these to make sure that they're accurate. But ChatGPT will gather all of that data way faster than you could ever dream of doing on your own. So let it save you an hour and create an awesome resource for your clients. Lastly, you can use it to create different checklists or assessment measures, things for outcomes that you would like to ask clients about. So whether this is at intake or through part of the ongoing therapy process, just let ChatGPT know exactly the type of thing that you want it to ask and what you want to get out of it, and it will create some awesome questions for you. All right, so now let's switch gears here and talk about the cautions or concerns with ChatGPT. And yes, I had a lot of favorite resources related to it, and I have just as many cautions and concerns. All right, the first is obvious. ChatGPT is not meant for healthcare information. It clearly says that. They will let you know. Medical professionals do not use this for record keeping for individual clients. You need a BAA to be HIPAA compliant, and ChatGPT or OpenAI does not offer that. And even if you think, well, but I'm not entering, detailed PHI, or it would be really difficult to identify who my client actually is, remember that HIPAA compliance is two main things, really. Number one, it's the actual technology you're using. So in this case, it would be a few things. It would be ChatGPT, as well as the actual computer you're logged into and your internet connection and a few other things. But that's the technology part of it. The other part of being HIPAA compliant is your actions. That's the part that you're responsible for and that your ethics board requires you to be aware of. And so it would be nearly impossible to argue that you're being HIPAA compliant if you are knowingly using ChatGPT to enter client data, especially when we have paid alternatives that will offer you a BAA. And yes, we'll be reviewing those in the future. Now, if you're not in the US where HIPAA is the big deal, remember that this means ChatGPT is saying that they do not guarantee that they meet our US standards for maintaining healthcare data. So they probably don't meet whatever standards are in your country as well. And even if you're not inputting PHI or anything related to client data, remember that ChatGPT is still gathering your information. So you want to be aware of the different privacy settings, maybe turn off things like saving chats, and stay up to date on those things as well. And just in case you are still wanting to use ChatGPT for your progress notes, even though I have made it very clear it's not HIPAA compliant, and I would not recommend that. I want to let you know that I did use ChatGPT for a progress note, and I very easily asked it a question that so many therapists could, which is asking it to write a note in a certain way using a certain modality. I use somatic experiencing, but let's say you were worried about insurance and you asked it to write the note in a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy type of way, because you're thinking insurance wants to see my notes that way. Well, it will make up that information even if the things didn't occur. So it will create interventions you didn't do. It will actually create client responses that your client did not do. So this is a really big concern. Again, you need to know exactly what needs to be in the progress note. You need to feel confident about that. You need to check up on the information that you are receiving from ChatGPT, and just don't use it for individual client stuff. Now, that said, I know there are therapists using ChatGPT, and probably some of you will continue using it. I've made my point clear. However, I will let you know I took a training on actually using ChatGPT for progress notes or other therapy documents. And you know what the directive was? It was to go into ChatGPT and to enter in all of the interventions I provided, the client's presentation, the session content or topics, and anything else related to the session. So by the time I do all of that, I haven't saved any time. Why would I go to ChatGPT and enter all that data when I could just put that exact same information in my progress note wherever it is that I write that? So if you have to go to that level of detail to get a good individualized progress note from ChatGPT, it's really just not worth it in the end anyways. So let's get off the individual client use soapbox and get back to what I did recommend using ChatGPT for, which was templates. There are still some concerns. So if you ask ChatGPT to create a treatment plan template for you for clients with anxiety, that would be a great use of ChatGPT and a great use if you feel a little uncomfortable with your current treatment plan template. The downside is ChatGPT tends to give you a lot. So it's going to give you a giant treatment plan template with like 4 goals, and each of those goals are going to have 3 objectives, and it's going to have all these different sections. It's going to give you a lot of information you likely don't need. So please, my caution is to you, don't look at ChatGPT's giant form or the length of information it's giving you and assume that that is high quality. It's just a lot of information. Keeping things simple in your treatment planning and your documentation is always the best way to go because it is what will keep you actually following those practices and make it very easy to review and use your documentation if you ever really need it. Take what ChatGPT gives you and maybe cut it in half, or at least don't be swayed by the fact that it's a lot of information. Just use what works for you. So another downside of ChatGPT is that you do have to take some time to teach it how you want it to write. One example is I used ChatGPT to create the title for a presentation I was giving. It took some time to really nail down a good presentation title because at first it was too formal, or then it was too techy, and then I said have it be friendly, but then it didn't sound quite professional enough or the way I wanted it to. And then I told it I wanted it to be geared towards therapists. So you really do have to enter a lot of information with ChatGPT or interact with it quite a bit in the same chat thread for it to learn what it is that you want. Sometimes it's a win right off the bat, and sometimes it takes quite a few tries. It's usually worth it, but just know that that is a potential downside. I could definitely see this being a lot more useful if you actually do adhere to a specific modality, like if you truly are a CBT therapist, or if you do a lot of EMDR, or you're really specific to couples work, then the more you interact with it around templates or language that you want to use, it will probably learn that very, very quickly and give you some great resources. So even though I've told you what feels like 100 times that I don't think ChatGPT is HIPAA compliant for using with individual client sessions or individual clients, I did actually use ChatGPT to write a progress note so that I could compare it to the other AI platforms out there. How well did ChatGPT write a progress note? And just so you know, the session for which ChatGPT and all the other AI platforms I'll be reviewing wrote a progress note is for one of the Gloria sessions. Those are some pretty famous therapy sessions that were conducted by some famous psychologists a few decades ago. They're a little bit dated, but they're still really cool resources. And the videos are all up on YouTube, and it's fairly open source information. So I was able to download everything we needed so that we can have the same therapy session reviewed and a progress note written for all these different platforms. And all the resources for those things will be linked in the description below if you want to check those out. So let's get to it. So this is a session with Carl Rogers and a woman named Gloria. How well did ChatGPT write the note? Okay, so it did a great job summarizing information. This was only a 25-minute therapy session between Gloria and Carl Rogers, and ChatGPT pulled out some pretty insightful categories for themes that popped up in the session, and even created its own template. It organized the information very well, created some bullet points and some lists, and as far as that goes, it was awesome. However, it also summarized like everything, and it was an incredibly long progress note. It was the type of note where I would never tell anyone to write a note anywhere near that. No one would ever want to read that note. Related, it also did summarize like a summary of the session, and then again underneath it, when it had those wonderful categories that were actually quite insightful, it was the same information. So it was duplicating information, again, making it way too long. My biggest problem with the progress note it generated was that it made up information that clearly did not happen in the session. I uploaded a transcript of the session, so it knew word for word what was going on and who was saying what throughout the entire session. Every word was accounted for, and yet it made up homework that was not assigned. It assumed that another session was happening, even though that wasn't discussed at all. It even went so far as to create specific topics and mentioned things like journaling, and that word was never in the session anywhere. What's even a little more disturbing, but also a little bit interesting, is that I also uploaded two other sessions that were conducted by two other psychologists with the same woman, Gloria, and it created the same fake information for all three sessions. Even though these were three different chats that I had open and three different prompts that I was giving it, it created the same fake information. So my takeaway is that ChatGPT really thinks that journaling and homework is a part of every single therapy session that has ever occurred. Um, Beyond that, I don't know why that occurred, but it's a good reminder that you always need to check any information it's giving you. Actually, for the other two therapy sessions that happened with Albert Ellis and Fritz Perls, it created a treatment plan that, again, never occurred in that session, was not discussed in any way, and it created other homework as well. Not only do you need to check to make sure that what ChatGPT is giving you is something that you want, you do also need to fact check it, like literally fact check that whatever it gives you is accurate. Now, if you're really curious about these progress notes that ChatGPT created, you can check it out for yourself. Click on the link that's in the description below, and I will send you all 3 of those progress notes that I had ChatGPT create for the Gloria sessions. It'll also include my own personal notes on how well ChatGPT did. And we'll use the same format for all of the AI platforms that I'll be reviewing. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel and make sure you have notifications turned on so you get noticed whenever those new videos come out. Next week, I'll actually be reviewing the only electronic health record that I'm aware of that actually has AI built in. That EHR is called Orchid, and it is for mental health professionals, and I'm excited to share my review with you. Until then, happy writing!